Hello. Good morning to some of you. Good afternoon, depending on where you are. It is morning here for me. It is 9:15 in the morning. All right. Okay. So as you are coming on into the room here, you may see on the right-hand side that I typed in a little message saying welcome. If you can do me a favor, not necessarily everyone, but this is actually the best way to know whether or not your ability to submit a question when we get to a Q&A period will work for you. So if you just want to type in hi, hello, that would be awesome. In fact, what I would actually, and not in the Q&A box. So there's actually a chat bar that you should see on the side. I'll write in here again. And all I wrote was hello there, and that should pop up. So we don't use the Q&A box at the bottom. Chat is disabled. Interesting. Okay. I don't know why it is. Let me go in there and see if we can change that. If not, then we will be using the actual Q&A at the bottom. So it's not standing out to me as to why the chat is disabled. So new plan, you're going to use the Q&A at the bottom when we get to the Q&A section of it for that. So if you've never joined for a webinar before or for a masterclass, there is a lot that I am going to be teaching you about your breast health today, like a lot. So this is a time where I want you to sit back, have pen and paper nearby, some level of hydration, and I want you to absorb and take it in. I'll create periods of time where I'm going to say any questions around that, any clarity. I also want to preface this by saying I cannot give you a consultation here on the spot. So if you have something really specific that's going on with your breast health or your health overall right now, I can't give you any type of like, you should 100%, take this and do that and use this many milligrams of that. So today is information for you. This is information for you, for your girls, for the women in your life, and all about how you can start to really step into taking care of your breast health. The things that you want to pay attention to. We're going to talk about doing breast examinations today, the right way and the not right way to be doing that. Things that you are looking for when something might potentially be more serious and you may need to go to a doctor. What the difference is of working with a variety of a team where there's functional aspects that come in, nutrition. We're going to talk and I'm going to show you some different things to support lymphatic drainage, specifically in the lymph nodes, in the armpits and the breast tissue themselves. So we have a lot that we are going to go through today. So when we get to that point, and I open up the questions, then that's when we'll use that Q&A box down at the bottom there. So for those of you, oh, hold on here. Why is Zoom going to give me all the funky things this morning? Hold on a second, folks. Let's see what happens here. Okay, I'm going to try something. And if I disappear, just stay where you are because I will be right back. But it's not allowing me to shift for the first time ever in my screen. So give me 1 sec. No, it's not going to let me do that. Well, this is fun. Okay, I'm going to have to move this baby down. Okay, can you all still see me? That you would want to respond into that chat bar for me so that I know we're into the Q&A. Yeah, Nicole, we record everything. You won't get the replay until next week because we do it as a team. We don't just like send you the automatic one from Zoom. So it'll come out next week. Okay, so you can all see me. Sweet, awesome. All right, so we're just going to ignore technology and let her do her thing, and we're going to carry on. So welcome to my Breast Health Masterclass. My name is Jen Pike. I'm a functional medicine diagnostic nutritionist, a medical exercise specialist, and a women's health and hormone expert. I've literally dedicated my entire life's work to helping humans live their best, healthiest life. And in the last 15 years have dedicated that energy towards women's health and hormones. Why I get up and do what I do every day is because I believe that there is so much more that we should have been taught about our bodies from the absolute youngest of ages. So much of what we know about our body is by design. If you didn't learn it in the school system, you don't think that it's important. And when it comes to our health, especially ours as women, Nothing could be further from the truth. We have this amazing body. We have all of these intricate bits and pieces and systems and functions that happen all the time. Yet the average woman has absolutely no idea how to respond to anything showing up new in her body when something feels different or off, doesn't know the right questions to be asking when she goes to her medical provider, doesn't necessarily know or feel empowered and confident enough to make some of the decisions and the changes for herself. And that is really what I do. So I am the founder of the Hormone Project, which is essentially a program for women to come back to school with me to learn everything about their body. Inside the Hormone Project, we spend 6 months, a half a year with these women. They work with their own individual functional medicine practitioner. We run functional tests, and they're in school with me every single Monday night. And they learn everything there is to know about their digestion, inflammation, their hormones, their breast health, brain health, sleep, libido, skin, liver, gallbladder, thyroid, adrenals, you name it, they learn it. It is one of the things that I love to do the most. It is so much fun. And the reason it's fun is because when you can empower a woman, when you can educate someone about their body, you literally are giving them an opportunity for endless possibilities in every other area of their life. How many of you have gone through a period of time where your health has not felt fantastic and it infiltrates into the energy of how you show up as a parent, as a partner, as an employee, or in your own business, in your relationships as a whole? How many of you, I am curious to know, and this is where I'll open it up for the first question, why are you actually here today? What is it that brought you into this workshop specifically? Okay, right into the Q&A box for me. Why are you here today? Why does it matter to you to learn about your breast health? I have found in practice that most women don't start to think about their breast health or care about their breast health until someone in their home or in their family or in their life has been diagnosed with something that is frightening, like breast cancer, or they themselves all of a sudden find a lump or something else goes on. And I think it's important that when we have these experiences in our life, that this snaps us out of it and this wakes us up. But that can actually be too late. When you here's the stats. 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in our lifetime. 1 in 8. So if you think about standing in the hockey arena with the hockey moms, standing, or lying in your yoga class with 30 students in there, standing in the grocery store, 1 out of every 8 women will be diagnosed. So we need to be getting ahead of the fear. We even need to be getting ahead of this idea that when we hit a certain age, we become more vulnerable. We work with women in their 20s who are being diagnosed with fibrocystic breast disease, breast cancer, have breasts that are loaded with cysts and all these different issues. So for us as women, this is really about learning, knowing, and understanding, and being able to have the knowledge to know and to get close enough with our own body that we understand when something feels off. This may not be another woman's norm, but this is not your norm. So we're going to talk today about that as well too. So a lot of you sharing history of breast cancer in your family. You have lumps in your underarms, told they're milk ducts, told they could be removed, but they will come back. Well, and Nicole, I would go deeper than that, because if they were truly milk ducts, they should be testing you for elevated levels of prolactin. And so that's something, we'll talk about that as well today too. Fibrocystic breast tissue, I'm used to it and it still frightens me. Hard to engage with my breasts because they're always granular tissue and lumps. Okay, upgrading what I learned from you in the past. Hi, Shireen. I don't know a lot about my breast health. I'm in the time of my life where I'm trying to learn as much as possible. I have fibromas and recently got a biopsy and it was really scary. New mom, and I want to focus on my health to ensure I am healthy for my family. I am dealing with hi Donna, I'm dealing with my second breast cancer diagnosis and treatment. When I was 44 and now I am 55, I am the 1 in 8. I'm here because, like you said, it's about knowledge, and I'm learning all I can to help myself and my daughter and whoever else will listen. I've had cysts before. I have fibrocystic breast. I haven't breastfed in 4 years and still have some milk producing. So this, Jennifer, same thing I said to Nicole, you need to go and ask for a prolactin test. You need to get a full thyroid panel done. Those are really important tests that we need to know and be asking our providers for, because that is where there can be a glandular issue that's going on, not just within the actual milk ducts of themselves, but on a pituitary level. So a lot of these hormones that we are producing and we are secreting, they happen brain up. Even if we're talking about your ovarian health, which for women who have a genetic predisposition, and we're going to talk about that today. So maybe in your family, there's been breast cancer. Maybe you have been told and you've done genetic testing that shows that you have the BRCA1 and 2 gene. Maybe you had a multi-gene panel that was run via blood for your DNA, and it shows you have a higher susceptibility. There are tests that need to be run in conjunction with that, because if you do have that positive BRCA1 and 2 gene, it doesn't just mean you're more susceptible to breast cancer, it also means ovarian cancer. So my hope for you all today coming out of this, we are going to be the better part of 60 to 75 minutes, okay? If this is your first time being in space with me, I show up 1,000%. Like, I'm going to give it all to you here. I'm going to show you some different things on test I want you to pay attention to. I'm going to show you some tangible, real things you can start to do today for your breast health. I'm going to show you some gut samples, some things to pay attention to into your digestion. Nobody connects their breast health to their gut health, to the quality of their poop. I do. And I'm going to teach it to you today. So it's going to be a lot of information. It's going to be a lot of information. And I hope this wakes something up in you. You are going to come back and listen to this again. You're going to get it as a recording next week. It's also going to be a podcast episode. So you'll be able to take this information in again and again. And if you're truly an ambassador for women's health, you are going to share this. You are going to share it with as many women as possible, so they have the same level of understanding and knowledge and know what to ask when they feel like something is out of balance. So I want to thank you all for sharing all of that and why you're here. It's important. So a couple other quick housekeeping things. Obviously, we're connected through the internet. If something happens, just give it a couple of minutes. Like if I freeze or something, I'll be back. And if it's on your end, just hit refresh. I have a dog. She's somewhere behind me. Sometimes she barks. She's just like a little adrenal test for you. If you jump to the ceiling, your adrenals need support. If you aren't fazed by it, you're doing good. Okay, so let's talk about some of the reasons that most women will show up in my practice with breast health concerns. Fibroids, the number one reason. Okay, fibrocystic breast tissue. So it is denser, it is lumpy. One of you described as saying that it's very like granular. It can feel kind of speed bumpy in the actual breast tissue. So this is a lot of times what will get women's attention. Most women will discover things in their breast actually quite by accident, just like randomly kind of hands on chest or through being intimate with someone or feeling a level of discomfort. You also sometimes might visually see changes in your breast, especially for us as women, because we go through these peaks and, these leveling off of our hormones, specifically estrogen and progesterone. You might notice at different times of the month, your breasts have a different shape. They're a different size. Sometimes they are more engorged. Sometimes they are more sensitive. Most women, 99.9% of women, have asymmetrical breast tissue, which means you have one breast that is larger than the other. There may be big areola and nipple differences in your breast. You might have one breast, and you may have noticed this if you were a woman who nursed or tried to breastfeed that was an overproducing side that just had overactive letdown and milk production, versus the other side. You might notice that one breast is more vascular, so it's more veiny than the other breast is. All different things that can happen. And what I want to say with asymmetrical breast is that is absolutely normal. It is very normal. The things we want to pay attention to is when we notice big changes. Cysts are another one that women come into our practice to, and a lot of breast tenderness and achiness and sensitivity. And again, these fluctuations. So maybe not necessarily every single day, but at prominent points and times in the month in their cycle. They notice my boobs can go up, almost what feels like a bra size. They are so sensitive to touch. They are heavier, all of those different things. Now, while having some breast sensitivity is completely normal, because we do have estrogen and progesterone that's fluctuating, most women will notice this change coming into ovulation and then coming right in before their period, about 5 to 7 days before it. It actually is the most common symptom that a woman will get to know that her period is about to begin. Now, when women are perimenopausal, when they are having more anovulatory cycles, meaning they might get a bleed every single month, but they're not ovulating. This might be the woman who doesn't have any breast tenderness throughout the month until that week or those few days before she actually bleeds. If you are menopausal, you no longer have a bleed anymore, and you're coming on the other side, like you're postmenopausal, then there can be different fluctuations that are happening because your ovaries are producing less estrogen overall. But if you are a poor detoxifier, if you have poor drainage, you don't methylate and sulfate, you don't bind and neutralize to the estrogen that is in your body and other toxicants that your liver, your gut, and your bowels are trying to move out, your body can reabsorb and recirculate that. And the breasts they're all adiposity, they're fat tissue. And so they are ripe for toxins to be stored and to be held, which is why when we're talking today about things like your deodorant and your body products, these are huge one-step actions you can take for your breast health. The reason when a woman is suspected of having breast cancer and they will maybe they will always biopsy if they're thinking it's breast cancer, but they'll also take samples and lymph nodes from the armpits. You have lymph nodes, different ones throughout your body. And I'm going to teach you about how to stimulate drainage in these today. But all of that is draining into the breast tissue. So if you are constantly applying your commercial chemical deodorant, your Secret, your Dove, your Lady Speed Stick, all of those different companies, all of that is draining and collecting in the breast tissue. I'm going to talk to you a lot about your bra habits today as well, too. The bra you're choosing, the amount of time you are spending in your bra for your breast tissue. And I've actually gone and pulled up different stats and a couple of different documentaries as well, too, that actually show that we have a higher propensity to breast health issues based on the type of bra and the amount of time that our breasts spend in a bra. Okay. So fibroids typically show up for women in general from the age of 30 onward. Majority of women are going to have some type of sensation and feeling in their breast tissue that's going to feel a little bit off. It doesn't mean that it's cancer. And today is not just about breast cancer. It's about your breast health overall. Like, how do you create really happy, healthy breast tissue that is literally going to be connected to everything else in your body? Now, some of those things that can happen when we have the fibroids, okay? So a lot of you shared, you have fibroids, you have felt what you feel may be fibroids, and you've been told. Most doctors will just tell you, totally normal, nothing you need to do about it. It's a very big dismissive area of women's health. Okay, because of these hormonal fluctuations, until something becomes like a huge red flag, 911, there's like nipple leakage, there is inversion that's happening, there's dimpling, there's all those things. Some medical professions just won't raise an eyebrow about it. But what they should be understanding is that, yes, we can have these hormone fluctuations that cause fluid accumulation in the cells of the breast, which is why ovulation and period, your boobs are bigger and more engorged. But if you also have a lot of cellular debris in your breast tissue, if you have a lot of extra adiposity, fat tissue in the breast, if you are somebody who's a slow methylator, you don't detox well, drainage is very slow in your body, you tend to retain more water, puffiness, you're constipated, digestion's not strong for you, you don't sweat on a regular basis, you don't have a lot of stimulation that's moving things through your body, you're somebody who tends to hold on to stuff, things impact you more, you have a more sensitive system, you tend to, kind of ride more on the inflammatory, puffy side of things, your body is going to hold on to this. And that cellular debris starts to accumulate and can actually impact and change things on a cellular DNA level. And that is where something goes from being non-cancerous to being cancerous. So the drainage and the elimination and the support and supporting your full detox. So when we get taught about detox in the wellness industry or in the magazines or in the latest, program to go and join, it's like, here's your 30-day detox. It doesn't work like that. Detoxification is a full body process. And yes, you have organs you were born with, like your lungs and your skin and your liver and your kidneys and your bowels that are filtering organs. But I'm going to tell you something, because I am running blood, saliva, urine, and poop testing every single day in our practice. I'm going to just say it, all women's bodies are not doing well right now. There is congestion all over the map. And so the liver and the gut are not able to actually move through phase one optimally. There's congestion in the pipe, okay? Phase two, where your body has to have the appropriate amount of nutrients to go in there and like neutralize it, make it less harmful, water soluble, package it up so it can't irritate anything else, and then ship it out to phase three, which is your fecal matter, your stool. A lot of people are having a lot of issues in this area. Either they're not pooping, it's pellet poop, they have to take something to poop. The only way they go is if they take that thing or they overdo it on magnesium citrate. Then they have loose stool, a mud pie, they're gassy, they're bloated, they're burpy, they have acid reflux, all of these different issues. We are going to have problems up top and down below as a result. So it's really something I want you to sink into and think about. When we ask ourselves, why are we or how are we at risk for things happening with our breast health? It's whole body health. So family history can have an impact, but do you know that 85% of breast cancer diagnosis, those women actually have zero history, zero family history. Only about 15% of women have a family history of breast cancer. So what is happening in the 85% of those who are actually getting diagnosed? Lifestyle is massive. So poor nutrition, excess sugar, processed foods, unhealthy sources of dairy. So like pasteurized commercial milk we're buying in the grocery store versus if you could get your hands on organic raw milk. Big difference there. Excess caffeine, alcohol, nutrient deficiencies. So not having enough fiber. Fiber actually binds up to a lot of the chemical toxicants, the excess estrogens, the beta glucuronidase in your body, binds it all up and helps to move it out of the body. Your fiber is also working as like this internal dry brush along the walls of the intestinal tract and the colon, helping to get a lot of that debris out of your system. When we talk about nutrient deficiencies, for us as women, a lot of the areas that shows up are your minerals. So your magnesium, your sodium, your potassium. Iron is a gray area, okay? I will tell you in practice what I have learned, especially more so in the last few years of testing pretty much every single woman we work with poop, is that most women who are told they have anemia or who have low iron actually have a gut infection. They actually have something like H. pylori, a parasite, a protozoa, high enzyme levels, opportunistic bacteria, and those little buggers are consuming all the heme, all the iron, all of the rich plasma out of, the iron-rich foods and the things that you're bringing into your body. And then you stack that on top of bloodletting every single month with a period, and that can present as anemia. So how we support women with that mineral is not giving them a bunch of excess iron. It actually won't change anything for them. You have to go to the root causes and issue. And I say causes with an S because very rarely is there one issue that, contributed to what you feel symptom-wise up top. So you've got to work on healing and sealing the gut, eradicating what's going on so that her body can actually absorb and use the iron from the food that she's eating or from maybe the supplementation that she is taking. The other things, B vitamins being, in deficiency, vitamin D, those types of things. And I'm going to go a little bit deeper when I get to the latter part of the class where we're going to go into some of the deeper suggestions. Now, toxins and body care products, this is massive and this falls under your lifestyle. So you as a woman are the target market. You are the buyer that they're talking to. You are the consumer. You are the purchaser. You are the community that are voting with your dollars every single time you shop. And the entire beauty industry, the entire body product industry is geared towards making us feel like we are lacking something. Your hair is not shiny enough. Your body is too smelly. Your body is, not moisturized enough. Your lips aren't plump enough. Your eyelashes need this brand. You need that. Your scalp needs this. And so we end up having, dozens and dozens, honestly, some women, if not hundreds of products in our home, trying to fill this gap and achieve the thing we've been told that is lacking. We also tend to look to our beauty care products when it's actually an internal issue. So your dry skin, your acne, your dry hair, your hair loss, all of those things, that's not coming because of the products that you're using necessarily. There's something bigger going on. So we really want to do a scrub of our home and look at, if you just saw in the news, there were 1.5 million units of dry shampoo from 19 different companies that were recalled last week because their first ingredient, isobutane, is one of the #1 ranked carcinogens that contribute and cause to cancer. Well, how many women are lifting up their hair and using dry shampoo so that they can stretch the days between their shampooing? And how many of us would ever think that spraying something in our hair like that to absorb oil is penetrating the skin barrier, your largest organ, making its way into your bloodstream and into your lymph and contributing to cancer? And the 2 cancers specifically that they talked about in this one were leukemia, which is a blood cancer. And then there was another one that I can't remember. I actually shared one of the quick little videos in my Instagram stories today, and you can go and link up into the article to read more. Tampons. Inserting chemically bleached cotton with dioxins that off gas into our cervix that then penetrate into the endometrium, the lining of the uterus. So if we're talking about companies like Always and Tampax, and yes, you've got OB now that has come out with organic, but if you read the studies on their organic, they're skimming the surface and they're still skirting certain ingredients in there. So just being aware of all the different things that we are putting onto our body, that your body, it doesn't go to your digestive system. As soon as you put it on your skin, it is immediately into your bloodstream, immediately into your lymph. So I want you to think about how you can lighten the load and lift the burden on your body. Simple things that you can do to understand more about that and get away from these, xenoestrogens. They're foreign estrogens. So every single one of these chemical commercial products, and when I say that, it's like in your Shoppers Drug Mart, in your Walgreens, in your CVS, in your London Drugs, in your grocery store, and you go in there and you're buying from L'Oreal, Maybelline, even half the stuff that's in Sephora, all of that, loaded with xenoestrogens. They're fake estrogen that mimic estrogen hormone compounds in your body. And they create hormonal chaos because they bind to estrogen receptors and they cause things to grow. So when you were a young girl, before you got your first period, you didn't just wake up one day and bleed. You started to get buds for breast tissue. The shape of your body started to change. You got broader hips. You maybe put a little bit of weight on. You started to notice these different things that were happening. That was estrogen coming to the scene. Estrogen is a beautiful hormone in our body. We need to have a good ample amount of it, but it is what makes things grow. So if we have chemical forms of estrogen, if we have too much of that, if your body has a difficult time breaking down the hormone once you've used it and getting it out of your system, it is going to back up. What happens when the pipes back up in your shower or the pipes back up in your toilet? Sewage, like not good, right? You can smell it. You're standing in a puddle in the shower. It's very obvious. In our bodies, we don't really recognize that we have congestion and a backup that's happening until something scary happens. So we want to get in front of that. We just want to be in there and kind of cleaning the pipes on a daily basis. The other thing I want to say about that with the toxicants, please don't ever put your phone in your bra. Ever. If you have ever done any looking into the EMF effects of a phone, let alone being near your face and your brain, which is why you will never see me wear AirPods ever in my life until they take away every dongle attachment, every anything where there is a cord. It's literally the equivalent of putting a microwave into your head. Your phone being where your breasts are. My daughter used to like tuck it into her pants where her ovaries were. And I was like, you get that out of there right now, right? Like this is not just a joke. This isn't like, oh, whatever, no big deal. No, I'm telling you, the way to your health is pay attention to those small little habits and things that you're doing right now that you think are no big deal. They are the big deal. They are the big deal. Deodorant you swipe on your pits every single day. The tampon you insert 5 days out of the month, the phone you tuck into your bra, dry shampoo you're spraying on your scalp, the wine that you drink every day to relax at the end of the day. Those are the things that are contributing to this, okay? It's not because you haven't found the right supplement. That'll never be the reason. It's not because you don't have enough grilled chicken on your salad. Look at some of the habits and things that are in place. So poor lymph circulation and drainage. This is another reason when we get cyst in the breast, when we get the dense breast tissue and things are just feeling like heavy and off, we want to be doing stimulation. So I'm going to show you a couple of things here. And let me just pull this up at the bottom in here. Okay. Okay, is this all landing and making sense so far as I am taking you through this before I talk to you and show you some things for drainage? Okay, put that in the Q&A. I'm going to grab some things. I feel like I have like a tickle trunk to the side of me with different things that I want to show you today that we're going to talk about. And everything I'm going to talk to you about today, some of these things are free and some of these things are most of these things extremely inexpensive, okay? I'll tell you what they are, what they cost you less in is a lot of the products that we're going and buying for our body that are not helping us. Okay. Amazing. Good. Yes. Honestly, share away. Okay. So let's talk about proper stimulation for our breast. So has everybody heard of dry brushing? Okay. Yes. All right. So dry brushing, I want to talk to you about how you're going to actually do this for your breast, because you're not going to be like, aggressively getting in onto your breast and doing it that way. That would not feel good. Okay. So what I want you to think about doing is, and I'm going to unplug. Okay. So when you're doing dry brushing, oh, now you can see Charlie. I'm going to move my chair out of the way and I'm going to lift this a little bit. Okay, so when we're doing dry brushing, you want to start from the outside in. So with proper drainage and circulation, we want to move everything from our extremities back in towards our heart, our cardiovascular system where the pump is happening. Now, you also have your liver and gallbladder that are here. This is my right side. It probably flips it on Zoom, but on the right-hand side under the rib cage, we have gallbladder and liver. Up here, we have stomach, we have spleen on this side, then we've got the uterus, maybe. If you don't have a uterus, it's okay, stay with me. Ovaries, fallopian tubes, kidneys, okay? Kidneys, back up under here. We wanna bring everything into these areas to move down. So with the upper body, what you do with your dry brush, this should cost you less than $30. I always recommend buy a sensitive skin brush, okay? Now, here's the thing. Leave your dry brush hanging outside your shower. Do not let this get wet. They will grow mold. Okay, same thing if you keep one of those like spongy things in the shower, pitch that sucker after a couple of weeks. They'll harbor mold. So this goes outside your shower. You can put essential oils. Great ones for stimulation are going to be citruses, basil, grapefruit, rosemary is wonderful, clary sage for your breast. So you just put a couple drops on. And then you are either going to do these sweeping motions. And if you listen, it's not sandpaper. It should feel a little kind of prickly. Your skin will start to get a bit pink, or you can do circles. And you're going to pull everything up to your armpits. So you're going to work each arm into the armpit, take it up across the collarbone towards the breast, but you're not going to be aggressive on your nipple. You're going to do the same thing other side, okay? The belly, you are going to come up like this in towards the chest. Collarbone area, you are going to come down like this. I'm going to show you another technique for this as well too. Your back, you're going to start at the top. Now, this is why you should work out and do mobility so that you have the mobility on your shoulders to be able to reach, okay? You're going to do this at the top and you're going to go down as far as you can. Then you're going to come up from behind and work up that way. Your legs, because you got to do your whole body. Now, when's the best time to do this? When you have time, but also, you know how your water is never warm enough for your shower when you turn it on? Do this while you're waiting for the water to warm up, okay? So legs, I want you to do the bottom of your feet, and then you are going to come up the legs all the way around, circle. If you tend to hold on to excess inflammation here. Now, some of us have more of a genetic predisposition to cellulite. I've got cellulite. I probably always will. It doesn't matter how fit I am. But you can spend extra time stimulating the movement all up and around, and you're going to pull into your groin. So everything from your legs, you are carrying up into the lymph nodes in your groin. This is where your lymph end. So you're going to bring it all the way up on both sides, okay? Now, the other thing that you can do, and I can sit back for this one. So this is where your daily routines that you do for yourself are so important. So at night, I want you to start to carve out time. We're going to make a commitment as women. And listen, I love me a good Netflix series, love that kind of stuff, but I love my health more. And if I'm the woman who is saying, I never feel like I have enough time. There's no time for me. I'm doing everything for everyone else. I work, I do this, I do that. My evenings are sacred. And I am going to protect them with everything I have so I can have a great body care routine. So when you're doing your face, this is called a gua sha. Okay. Again, this should cost you less than $30. And you're going to use this for your face, your lymph, and your breast. Okay. So when you're doing your face routine, which you're going to use beautiful, organic, natural products, you are going to move. When you're doing gua sha, you don't go in like this. Okay. You are taking it pretty much parallel to the skin, and you're going to work all the way around. Now, your lymph in the neck. Okay, so this is a good one too. If you have children who are chronically getting ear infections, number one, I want you to evaluate their diet. Sugar, dairy, gluten, going to be the three biggest issues for chronic ear infections. Also get them chiropractically adjusted or work with an osteopath because they probably have some mechanical issues where the eustachian tube is not actually draining and it is sitting a little bit too parallel. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your gua sha. And you are going to start, see how I have it like this flat against my skin? I'm not doing that. You are going to come all the way around that ear, all up into, remember when you get sick and your tonsils start to swell? It's your lymph, okay? We want to drain these babies and you're going to come all, and it feels so dang good. You're going to come all the way around. Guess what else lives here? What is right here? This is your beautiful thyroid. She does a lot of work for you every day and she needs stimulation as well. So we are going to drain everything from the top down. And you're going to do that. You're going to work it all the way down. Now, when you get here, this is your clavicle, your collarbone. We want to work down into the collarbone. So we're going to do this and come down into it. This kind of pointy part here, don't do this and jam into your thyroid. She won't like that. Okay, so you're going to do this. Then you're going to come under the collarbone and you are going to move from your sternum. So you find your sternum, you're going to move from the sternum towards the armpits. So you're going to go that direction first, and then you're going to take it and bring it back into the heart. And you're going to do this all the way down into your breast tissue. Now with the gua sha, the difference between these two, this is moving, this is deeper penetration. So the dry brush is like, wake up. It's like, it's getting all the stimulation. It's getting the flushing happening. It's getting everything moving. The gua sha, you're going to need to go and get to go a little bit deeper, and you can spend time around the nipple with care. You want to work all the way around your breast tissue. So it's not just, this is not where our breast health lives, here to here. You've got to come under the breast. So you're going to do the same thing up under here, okay, on both sides. Now, you can do that. I'd recommend using a carrier oil. Castor oil we're going to talk about. It's going to be probably too sticky maybe with your gua sha if you're going to do that long. So jojoba oil is beautiful to use. Sea buckthorn oil, coconut oil, those are going to be really good ones. So you do all of that stimulation. Then what you do is let me just stick my earring back in because that would be me. I'd go through the rest of my day with one earring in. Then you're going to take castor oil. Okay, so this is going to be, you don't have to do this every single day, but I'll tell you, when we work with women who have cyst and fibroids, this is every single day. And we shrink those cysts and those fibroids using castor oil. So this is Queen of Thrones. To me, it is the best one that is on the market, bar none. You can get it all throughout North America. We have a code for it. Jen Pike 10 is the code. It's Queen of Thrones. We can link it up for you in the recording. This is your castor oil pack, okay? Now, you can just buy like a whole little kit together, not expensive. Or you can use old flannel from a shirt. Mine is very well used, okay? Now, what you do with this is you would take your castor oil, you're gonna do about a half a tablespoon, and you pour it down the center, and then you're gonna rub it together into your pad. And then this is what you're gonna do, okay? You are going to take that pad and you are going to wrap it and compress it around your breast. Again, this is why you have to be flexible. And you are going to tie this, and you can sleep with this. So put on a tank top you don't care about, because yes, it's castor oil. It may stain, but you have this protective. Cysts and fibroids of your breast tissue, you are going to want to do this. Sore, swollen breast, especially coming into your period, you are going to want to do this. Now, the other thing, and you can get more than one pack, is if we have these issues happening with the breast, we want to support liver and gallbladder. And you're going to wrap it around the liver and gallbladder as well. So you can get more than one pack and do both at the same time. If you're just starting out, maybe you do the breast one night, and then you do the liver and the gallbladder on another night. Specifically for your breast tissue, what I'd recommend is that you add some clary sage essential oil. Okay, if your body can manage that, onto the actual castor oil pack that you are using, that you are putting in there. So again, these are very inexpensive, simple, you can't get this wrong. You cannot do these things wrong, other than if you're going in like this and it's not a magic eraser. Okay. Be kind with your body, but love on yourself. And you do these things at night for yourself. You spend this time, you do this, take some magnesium before bed. Oh my gosh, your sleep is going to improve. Your likelihood of waking in the middle of the night is probably going to decrease, or at least the amount of time that you are awake for. And you're going to notice a huge difference in the quality of your breast tissue and your breast health overall. Okay. So I see a question that's down in there. Any knowledge you can share if your gallbladder has been removed? So if you don't have a gallbladder, you definitely want to be on a digestive enzyme with bile and pancreatin, ox bile specifically, because your stomach acid will be impaired by that, and you need additional liver support. So I would be using the castor oil pack, and then I would be working with someone to really identify what are the things you need to be doing to support your liver. When your gallbladder has been removed, you will become mineral deficient pretty darn quick, because your liver and your gallbladder, they are in a partnership together, right? And we treat so many of our organs in our bodies like, well, you don't really need that. Well, the liver produces your bile, but your gallbladder is actually what regulates it. So for a lot of people, what they notice after is digestion is just off, right? Bowels are off. There's not a lot of consistency. So you want to be supporting the liver and then the bacteria of the gut overall for that. And to be honest, Charlotte, if I were you, I would run a GI map. I would run a stool test to know exactly what it is that's going on. Now, other things that you can do, and this would be where you have this sliding scale of like the things you can do that are very inexpensive. You could buy everything I just showed you for less than $100, okay? And when you start to think about things like what it cost you to go out and buy a meal, or, a pizza or a bottle of wine or another piece of clothing that you actually don't need. And then you think about like, this pack will last you literally forever. You throw it in the washing machine. I've had mine for, 5-6 years. You buy a dry brush once a year, like gua sha lasts you for life. These are investments. These aren't expenses. These are investments. Okay. We have to use them. Now, the other thing where you could start to kind of go up, infrared sauna, the cat's ass, few $1,000s. I saved for mine for a few years. Okay. Infrared light, less expensive. So fantastic. Directly on the breast tissue. So Donna, how you were sharing that you're going through breast cancer treatment right now, naked in front of the red light on the breast tissue. So it is going to help with things like scar tissue. It's going to help if there has been radiation. Red light, I really recommend the Orion Red Light. It's a Canadian-based company. They're actually based out of Vancouver here on the West Coast. We have a code GenPike10 for that. They actually have a sauna blanket that you can buy that's far less than you would spend on an infrared sauna. But again, it's not about going and buying all this stuff. You have to make sure you're going to be using it. Now let's talk about something that we all wear every single day for the most part that really can be impacting our breast health, and that's our bras. Okay, so I want to read to you some stats that I pulled up. There's this amazing book that's called Dress to Kill, it talks about the link between breast cancer and our bras. And when this book came out and there was another documentary, this is where you started to see bra companies that were coming out with wireless bras. So even if you look at the bra industry, it's all about like your boobs aren't high enough, your boobs aren't plump enough, your boobs don't, come together the way that they're supposed to. And so we're going to talk about that. What does the castor oil do? It's a purgative. So the castor oil, it goes and it shrinks inflammation. So that's why it is literally the most incredible tool that we use in functional medicine practice for cyst and for fibroids in conjunction with what you're eating in your detox pathways. So that's what castor oil does. It removes and reduces inflammation, and it helps things to shrink. You don't have to avoid any of these while you're breastfeeding, Marilee. There is nothing that you are taking internally that is going to, show up in your breast milk if you were aggressively. And here's what you'd pay attention to. So, how much stimulation do you want to do with your breast tissue when you're nursing? It's different. If your baby is still nursing, 4, 5, 6 times a day, that may not actually feel super comfortable to do more than just in the evening or a couple of times a week. If you have a baby where you're just doing kind of like, the morning and evening feed, and milk has really regulated itself, then you can do a little bit more. Castor oil, if you're going to do that, I would do it as far away from your nursing so that the baby's not, mouth isn't on the castor oil or the residue that's left on the nipple. And I would leave the essential oil off. Which other lymphatic tool are you talking about? The gua sha? You can get these literally everywhere now, like even at Marshall's, Winners, HomeSense. If you go into like the skin and hair care section, you're going to see these gua shas. You can pretty much find them everywhere. Changes in body odor due to hormones. 100%. Your body odor will change multiple times throughout the month, which is why when you go to a natural deodorant and your smell changes often, you'll know that your body is in a healthier state of detox, as opposed to when you just slap on an antiperspirant or a masking deodorant that has aluminum in it. It's just suppressing and shoving it deeper in your body. The reasons your body odor changes throughout the month is because your pheromones change. Okay, so we actually give off a certain scent, which is evolutionary wise, our physiology is to attract another mate. So depending at what time of the month it can change, if you changed your diet, if you've been eating more healthy, less healthy, more alcohol, more caffeine, all of those things that'll impact your body odor. I actually, Laura, do not recommend mammograms, and we're going to be talking about that. And I've got some stats to share with you. If I had to have a woman go and get anything, it would be a thermographic scan, which is going to use temperature. And we're going to talk about, I don't know if you all know this, if you've looked into it, mammograms pick up about 43% of the detectable tumors. And at the time for most people with a mammogram, it's going to be picked up when it's about the size of a ping pong ball, okay? Somewhere in that kind of 6 centimeter range. For women who know how to actually be doing their own testing and checking, or going to a doctor who knows how to do a proper physical examination of the breast tissue, the stats are the exact same, 43%. There are some impacts of doing mammograms. You're having radiation exposure. There is a lot of compression around the breast tissue. There are a lot of false positives, which can cause a lot of stress for women. And then there are cases where that is how it is found for women. So I think it's important to know your options. Mammograms are not the only options. There's mammograms, there's thermography, and there is actually doing proper testing with ourselves. So a big thing that we're going to be talking about is you have to know your body. So I'm going to say some things that may not feel comfortable, okay? I think that we all need to actually take a photo of our bodies naked that we would keep private to ourselves, so that we actually know what our normal looking breast structure and body structure is. Okay. Same thing like if when you've been told you have certain moles to be watching, to take a photo of it and to date stamp it so that you know. You need to be touching your body often. You have to know the landscape of your body. When I am working with a woman, or my team is working with a woman, we're not the ones living with her breast on our body. So for her, she has to be touching and checking. And I mean, your whole body, you have to get comfortable touching, which can be very triggering for some women and very difficult. And that is something where, if that is for you, then that may be where you want to look for some additional support, because we have to know what normal is for us. We do these benchmarks in so many other areas in our life, right? Like understanding where your baseline is, what you're starting at, and then where you're moving towards. We have to start to do that with our full body care as well too. Ultrasound of the breast again, it's not as good. I think if you had to pick one out of the three, thermography. Now, you're going to pay a little bit more for thermography. You're going to have to look for various clinics that offer it. Is becoming more popular to do. Armpit detox, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know people who've done them and have noticed a difference, and then I know them who've done them and haven't noticed a difference. I think if you're somebody who maybe you're coming out of years of using chemical deodorant, could be beneficial. But if you're already somebody who's living, a healthy lifestyle, your body odor may not be connected to what you think it is. It may be more so to gut and certain bacterias, and may not actually have to do with the armpit's ability to detox for that. Okay, so let me come back into this so we can talk about bras. All right, so hold on here. Why Zoom? Why? All right, so women who wear their bras. Now, I was reading these stats to my husband, and he was like, there's women who wear a bra 24 hours a day. There are oftentimes women who have larger breast, and it is very uncomfortable for the weight of their breast to just be literally pulling off of their body, will wear bras 24/7. Women who wore their bras 24 hours a day in the studies that were done had a 3 out of 4 chance of developing breast cancer. Those who wore bras more than 12 hours per day, but not to bed, had a 1 out of 7 risk. Women who wore their bras less than 12 hours per day had a 1 out of 52 risk, and women who wore bras rarely or never had a 1 out of 168 risk. Okay, so I want to talk about the differences of types of bras here, and I'm going to show you a couple of things as well. So now, I have small breasts, okay? I didn't always. My children took them. And so I don't really need to have a lot, but I have friends, I have clients, I have women in my life who have significant size breast, and they're like, I need to be able to have the support. I have some girlfriends and even family members whose breasts are so big and bras needed where they have indentations in their actual traps from the straps because of the weight of the breast tissue. Now, when we are home, and you're not out at work or wherever, then that is when it's like, take that bra off and you're good to go. I'm going to show you a couple of different options here of some things to think about. So, and again, don't knock it till you try it. You don't know. Most bra stores you go into now have entire selections. Knix is a company that has no underwire bras. Aerie has no underwire bras. Even your Victoria's Secrets, all of that. Now, the type of quality, I can't really say. You could go something, again, like just kind of this, there's no padding, there's no underwiring. It's kind of like a little cami, like a little small tank top, if you just want to have something that creates a little bit of support. You could go kind of next level up, which has a little bit extra structure into it, but again, no underwiring. The issue with the bras and the wiring is constriction. There's no flow. So remember we talked about stagnation, and that the cells and the tissue of our breast are just like ripe for absorption of all the toxins. There's no flow. So you can do something like that. Now, if you wanted, I have like one bra like this. If you wanted a bra that was like more of a traditional bra, you still want to find one that has no wire. It should have absolute complete flex to it, so that underneath here, where it is down below the breastbone, there's no restriction. And getting fitted for your bra properly is so important. Most women are undersizing themselves. So they think that they are a B cup when in fact they are a C cup. Your breast size, and when you're going to get your bras, is not like how big are your boobs when you put your hands on them. It's going wide, like widthways, side to side of the actual breast itself, and then the circumference, the width around your upper rib cage. So really important to get yourself sized properly, and free the girls. Free the girls. Just let them be in a bra way less often, okay? It's something for me, like most of the bras I wear in my line of work are sports bras, but they also create a lot of compression. So as soon as I am done working out, especially if it's a sweaty sports bra, where again, sweat, wonderful. We need to be sweating and moving our body, but again, creates a lot of, toxicity. We need to get those babies off. That's a tricky one sometimes for me. I can get to the end of the day and be like, I am still in what I taught in this morning. Okay, so supporting those lymph pathways. These are very important things. Phase 1 and phase 2 detox. I am going to show you what that actually looks like inside of a Dutch test, which is the only way right now that you can measure phase 1 and phase 2. When you go to the doctor and you ask them to test your hormones or to do full blood work, very rarely is it full blood work. They're missing a lot of markers on there, and you'll never be able to see what your detoxification pathways are in blood. The only way to test it is in dried urine. And that is what a Dutch test actually tests for. It's the reason why every single woman that comes in the Hormone Project, we run a Dutch test on her. Not because it's the only test to run, but if we have someone who's coming to us because their hormones are part of the issue, there's certain things that we have to be looking at. And you might have low hormone secretion in your body right now, but you do not eliminate and detoxify optimally. And we can see in those pathways, is it the liver and the gut that needs support? Is it, lower down in phase 2 that needs support? And there's 3 different markers that actually will show us. There's the 16 pathway, which links to our breast. So it's something called 16-hydroxy. Everything that filters down that path goes directly into the lineage of our breast. So for the woman who has the fibroids, who has the cyst, who has a family history of cancer, who had cancer previously, we want to be really looking at this with a fine-tooth comb. How much is your body filtering down this pathway? Because that's not healthy for our breast, okay? We need to have a certain amount going down there for your bone health and your heart health, but not for your breast. There's another pathway called the 4-hydroxy. This is known as the carcinogenic pathway. The more your body shuttles down this pathway, it forms something called quinones. And these are like free radical producing agents that increase the opportunity for DNA damage, cell structure changes in the body. And then you have your 2-hydroxy pathway, which is your least offensive, most protective pathway. It's a green pathway because green is like, go, like, get out, right? Like this is the way to the exit. And when we look at that, that's really representing how much liver support, gut support. And this is where women will be recommended things like maybe taking DIM, indole-3-carbinol, sulforaphane, calcium D-glucarate. These are all botanical compounds that literally go in and are like estrogen. You grab a hold of it, filter it down, and help to move it out so it's not accumulating in the tissue. Now, you do have to be careful. This isn't something you can go and Google and self-treat, especially if you're a woman who has low estrogen, you are perimenopausal, or you no longer have a period. Because the problem here is that means that your estradiol is already low. You already have low estrogen. And what the role of DIM and I3C do is they go in and they lower estrogen overall. So they're going to lower the amount that you are producing via the ovaries. They're going to lower the amount that you are detoxing. And so this is the polarizing here. You can't do that to a woman who already has low estrogen. She will end up with horrible hot flashes, insomnia, weight gain, mood swings. She will feel like crap. So if you have a woman with low estrogen production, but her pipes are clogged, she's not filtering, then you don't use DIM and I3C. Or if you do, it is for the shortest period of time to create a little bit of movement. Then you have to use things like sulforaphane, which is from broccoli sprouts, not broccoli sprouts. And sulforaphane is one of the most powerful nutrients that we can bring into our body. You would have to eat like pounds of cruciferous and broccoli sprouts a day to get what you would take in a therapeutic supplement amount to help to move things out of that more cancer-causing pathway. Calcium D-glucarate is used when you have a woman who also has major gut issues going on and a very high level of an enzyme called beta-glucuronidase. And that bugger, it does nothing good. It goes in and it just causes a shit show in the body. It unwraps all of the estrogen and the toxins that your body's been trying so hard to bundle up to get out. Beta-glucuronidase goes in and it just undoes everything. And now that recirculates back up into your body, which is how you can have women who are menopausal, who feel like they have estrogen dominance. And then you test them and you're like, you don't have true estrogen dominance because your estrogen is actually quite low, but you have excess estrogen binding, like it's going back upstream. So these things are really important to know, and you will not see that in a blood test. The only way to look at that is in through a Dutch. Now, let me actually see if I can pull up for you in here. Let's see if this will work. I'm going to try to share my screen for you all. Hold on. Okay, so you tell me if you can see this in one moment. First, what you're going to see is a picture on the screen. And then what you should see is a sample test. Can you see this? Just type into the chat, yes. That's the answer I'm looking for. Yes. Okay, awesome. All right, so this here, now I'm not going to show you the full test because this is an actual patient. This is a client of mine that I'm working with right now. But what I am going to do is show you specifically, this is page 3 of the Dutch test. This is a dried test for urinary hormones. You do this test at home. We just drop ship it to you. You take it at home. It gets sent back to the lab. This is looking at her estrogen picture. So this woman has very high estrogen across the board. Now, this woman came into the practice with a lot of breast tenderness, breast sensitivity, heavy, painful periods, headaches that turned into migraines before her period. And when her period was coming on, she was like, I just don't want to do life right now. Like, I just want to curl up under the blankets. I do not feel well. Cravings, weight gain, all of those things. So we did a full blood panel. We measured her thyroid. We measured her stool. And then we looked at what was going on with her hormones. So she has high levels of estrogen across the board here, okay? Ideally in this test, what you want to see with these dials is they're like 12 o'clock straight up and that they're green. We can see her estrone is high. Estrone is majority of the estrogen that's in our fat cells. Right. So, and as we age and we become less insulin sensitive, or if you're not as active, or if, nutrition wise things are suffering, or if you're drinking too much, you're not getting sleep, your body composition is changing. This is when we can start to see this increase. Estradiol mainly coming from the ovaries. But again, if you have unstable insulin and you have other inflammatory things going on, you can aromatase your testosterone you're making and make more estrogen. And then estriol, this is showing us that this woman is having a difficult time filtering. So see this first pathway here. Remember I said we have this pathway called the 16. This is the lineage to the breast. Okay. This, normal lab range would be 13 to 30%. Hers is at 15%. Now, it's within the normal range, but we have to step back. We have to zoom out, and we don't just look at the dial. We have to look at the full picture. She has too much estrogen that she is trying to move down this pathway unsuccessfully. So there is accumulation that is happening in her body. So we want to be supporting that. We're going to teach her things about her liver, the lymph and drainage, and all the stuff I just showed you with dry brushing. We're going to talk to her about her products. We're going to get her to drink out of glass instead of plastic, filtered water. Those types of things, really, really important. The other thing we notice here is that her 4-hydroxy, which if you follow the arrows down, this is that quinone pathway, and if not detoxified, can bind to and damage DNA. So these aren't like, oh my gosh, you have, cancer, or you have that. No, this is like, here's the warning signs. So this is incredible data from your body. This isn't from anyone else's body, it's yours, to help illuminate what do we need to focus on. So with this woman specifically, we're focusing on drainage, liver, gut, and lymph. Those are the first 3 steps that we are focusing on. By focusing on those things in your life, ladies, I guarantee you majority of your symptoms are either going to become so much more manageable, and some of those probably will be gone completely. We're focusing on reducing her gas and her bloating and getting her pooping every single day. Part of the issue with not being able to filter properly is if you don't have healthy bowel movements, you literally are backed up, and that can be causing a lot of the issues. Now, this woman here has a lot of estrogen. So I can safely give her DIM for a couple of months, pay attention to signs and symptoms that we are tracking, and then take her off the DIM. And because I've done her GI map and I know that her beta glucuronidase is over 3,000, I would then give her calcium D-glucarate and increase some of the things she's eating dietary wise to help to move down this pathway. Okay, so really important. Number 1, I know you're asking there, your family doctor won't even know what this test is, and they don't know how to test for it. These are functional tests, and medicine has a time and a place, but they're trained in what they're trained in. You're not going to come to me if you have a broken bone and you've been in a car accident. I can't help you. That's not my area. You're going to go to urgent care and you're going to go to a doctor for that. It's just understanding like where and who are you going to align yourself with based on the health issues that you have that are going on. for that. Okay, so let's talk. You're asking here about alcohol. So the reason that alcohol, and yes, I know we hear all the studies like, a glass of red wine rich in resveratrol, good for your health. No. In fact, it's like if you were going to have any wine, apparently an organic Cab Franc is going to be the best, but it's still alcohol. It's still ethanol. And for us as we age, which is why you may notice you used to be able to manage alcohol and now you can't. Alcohol in and of itself damages our DNA. And for us, it changes the way we metabolize our estrogen and it increases our estrogen. So 1 6-ounce glass of wine, and when I'm saying wine, insert cooler, beer, whatever your drink of choice is. Obviously, if there's something where there's sugar in it, there's going to be increased inflammation versus, say, vodka and water. But 1 6-ounce glass of wine daily increases your risk anywhere from 8 to 13%, depending on the quality of the wine. 2 6-ounce glasses of wine a day increase your risk by 30%, and 3 or more daily glasses of wine increase your risk by 50% or more. So we need to, as women, we've just been taught, and the marketing is everywhere. Had a bad day with your kids, have a glass of wine. Had a bad day at work, have a glass of wine. Don't feel like you have libido and can't connect to be intimate with your partner, go and have a glass of wine and take off the edge. Going to a party and need to be the fun version of you, go and have a glass of wine. It's become so ubiquitous of how we live that we become detached to the fact that for most of us, we do not feel good when we consume it. If your face gets red, if you get congested, if your appetite goes off the charts, if you get a headache, if you are getting hot flashes, if you are sleeping poorly at night and you have a couple glasses of wine and feel hungover for days, if you are throwing up, those are all core signs you do not detox, digest, or manage alcohol well. And that'd be a huge sign to be decreasing or eliminating completely. Okay. Lack of exercise and sweating. You have to move your body. You don't need to exercise 7 days a week, but you need to move your body every day. You need to get out into fresh air. You need to get on something like a rebounder, go and do your strength training, spend 30 minutes doing yoga in the day, go and do your Pilates. To say that we don't have time when we live in a world where we are hand glued to our phones, it's not true. It is not true that we don't have time. It is that we are filling our time with other things. We have become consumers of other people's lives and other people's information and scrolling. And all of a sudden 30, 60, 2 hours has gone by. And that is your time right there that you could have made the commitment to your health, to your breast health, to your heart health, to your brain health, to your nervous system, to your mood. Recognize the moments that you have in your life and go and take those for yourself. It is so important. And that is the thing, there's not a supplement in the store that's going to do that for you. You have to go and create that movement for yourself. Okay. If your stress is through the roof, you have to start to look at that. The more stress you have, your cortisol is going to be out of whack. There's going to be misalignment there. Cortisol is going to drive insulin through the roof. Cortisol is going to drive estrogen. Cortisol is going to impact not only your adrenal health, but your thyroid health overall. Lack of sleep. Ladies, if you are not getting good quality sleep and you're not getting off your devices in the evening, if you have too much light exposure at night, you're going to shunt melatonin production. And melatonin always gets talked about for sleep, but melatonin outside of glutathione is your body's number 1 antioxidant. Antioxidants are what go and fight off the free radicals that are trying to damage our cells. There are so many studies that'll show all of us are walking around with floater T cells in our body that have the potentiality to become something like cancerous cells. But the way we live our life, this is epigenetics. Epi means upon. The lifestyle you live upon your genetics. So the impact it makes on your genetics is what either flips the switch to activate those cells or keeps the switch turned off. If your switch in your home and on your phone and on your iPad is on all the time in the evening, you're not producing enough melatonin. It's not only going to show up in lack of good quality sleep, it's going to show up in lack of healthy melatonin production. And we test your melatonin as well. And if your melatonin's low, that can be why you get sick all the time, why your resiliency is not great, why it takes you so long to recover, why you don't get a great amount of deep sleep, all those different things. If you're on the birth control pill, this is going to drive estrogen very high. If you're on the birth control pill or your daughter is, I was just interviewed again yesterday on Kayla Bett's show, and we went into this wholeheartedly because And this is like a whole nother class, but we are not educated enough about the pill. No one is asking us the right questions before they prescribe it to us. No one's telling us the side effects and the impacts. No one's explaining that you don't ovulate the entire time and you suppress an entire reproductive hormonal response in a woman's body for the whole time she's on the pill. No one tells a woman that when she comes off, her sex hormone binding globulin and prolactin levels could stay through the roof, binding up all of her testosterone, impacting her liver enzymes, and impacting things like her breast health, where we need to have those free circulating hormones. If you have true gut issues going on, you have a parasite, you have gut infections, you've been on a proton pump inhibitor, antacids, taking Pepto-Bismol, Gaviscon, those kind of things. You've been told that you have IBS, you have an autoimmune condition. These are the things where we really have to look under the hood. I want you to think about your health moving forward, not as like a second job, but as the most important gift that you've been given. And what we have to understand is, unfortunately, we've been done wrong by in terms of our education system. If this was something that we were teaching kids literally from the time they could understand, we all from a very young age would have had a totally different connection to our bodies. We would have trusted our bodies. We would have understood the language our bodies are communicating. We would have known when to ask for help, what kind of support to be looking for. We wouldn't have tried to rush everything. We wouldn't put the responsibility on the doctor, the practitioner, the supplement, and the diet. We would be in charge. We would be the responsibility. Right? It's like you can sit here and take in all the information I'm talking about. You could decide it's not for you and get off right now. You could get off here and be excited and think I'm going to do all the things. But only you are responsible for whether or not you take the information and now apply it. What you know is only as good as what you apply. And the problem that happens nowadays is because there is no shortage of information on any practitioner or health person site or out in the ether of the world. There's no shortage. So what we have now is an overinformed society who's paralyzed by too many decisions, doesn't know who to trust when the person they should be asking that to is themselves, and makes no decisions, or they overcomplicate it and become rigid and white knuckle everything. This is where you need to zoom out instead of zooming in. It's where you need to pull back. This is maybe where you need to actually spend some time with someone one-on-one and actually be like, this is my health history. This is what I am potentially fearful of. These are the goals that I have for myself. What do you want to do? Right? So it's like, if you've never worked with someone, if it's been years, I have run these tests on myself every year since 2017. And in 2017, I was the woman who had all the elevated estrogen, and every single channel in my detox was high in red. And I remember doing that test, which I did out of interest. I didn't do it because I thought I had big problems going on. And I got the results back, and in my head, I was like, if I have this happening in my body, what is going on in the bodies of the women that I'm working with? And now I run my blood, my urine, and my stool every single year so that I can see across the board, this is where things are moving well. This is where there's maybe some sticking points. Ooh, that's not good. Why'd that happen? Though this is improving, those kind of things. So understanding what is going on is so important. So if you don't work with someone, if you haven't worked with someone in a long time, that would really be my first step to you, is you need to have that individual support and care. And yes, 100% you can reach out to us. You can book a free call and just talk about, this is what I have going on. Is this something that your team can help with? You can reach out to us today. You can send a DM on Instagram. You can reach out to hello@jenpike.com. Unfiltered water, absolutely, that's going to impact it as well too. So when do you need to see your doctor? Okay, this is the next question here. So we've been almost 75 minutes. We're probably going to go 10, 15 longer. If you can't stay, it's all good. I'm going to keep talking until I get through what I want to get through here, because there's still lots of good stuff. This is, again, one of those things where we want to learn it all in 60 minutes. We're talking about your health. The reality is I could keep you here for 6 weeks, right? Your breast, your boobs, they're dynamic, and your tissue is changing all the time. So this is why when I said to you, you need to start to take pictures, and you need to be doing regular weekly breast examinations, not just once a month. You need to touch your breast at different times throughout the month and the cycle so you can understand when these different tissue changes are happening. Here's the red flags where you'd want to go to your family doctor about, okay? You have a lump or thickening in the breast. That's an obvious one where you're like, I've never felt that before. You have a change in size, shape, or appearance of your breast that is notable. where you're like, why is that breast so much bigger than the other? Why does my nipple look like that? I've never noticed that before. You have redness of the skin on your breast, you have pitting, and you have dimpling. So again, this is why, I know it can be so uncomfortable to look at ourselves naked in the mirror, but spending that time to really notice all the nuances of your body. If you have a newly inverted nipple, okay? If you have changes to the pigment areas surrounding the nipple, the areola, so you have peeling, you have itching, you have scaling, you have crusting, you have flaking. If you have continuing or worsening breast pain. So not like what you're used to maybe just before your period, but where you're like, I am sore and achy all the time. My sensitivity is through the roof. You want to get that checked out. And if you have breast changes that persist after your period. So for most women, when they have any level of change, it's before the period, they get their period, and then your boobs are like, whew, like I'm fine. If it continues during your period and after your period in that follicular phase, then I would recommend that you go and you get things looked at as well. And then obviously, if you have already found a lump and you are noticing that things are changing with that. Okay, so it's so important. Now, when we're talking about doing our self breast examination, this is really important that you know how to do this, because much like when I was talking about when you are doing, the gua sha or any of that type of stimulation, you're not just doing this from the top of the breast down. You've got to be going all the way around. You want to lie flat. Okay, so you want to lie flat. You can do this in the shower as well too, and you would take a hand up behind the head. And like when I'm doing it, I'm everywhere. I am looking all the way up under my clavicle, and you want to use your finger pad. So you're not like in like this, okay? You want your hand to be, flat and not firm and rigid, like some suppleness. And you're walking and you want to go down. So you're going to go in multiple directions. You're going to do this and you're going to move your hands down the breast, up the breast, across the breast, and then around the breast, in and around the area of the nipple and that. And you're going to do the same thing on the other side. So I recommend doing some of them standing, and then I recommend doing them lying down. You will feel different things, okay? The shape of your breast actually changes when you are standing versus lying down. So I definitely notice a difference. And I think it's really important that you take that, for yourself when you're doing that. Now, the other things as well too here that you want to think about is you have to listen to your body. So if you go in and your doctor just looks at your breast and are like, everything looks fine, push deeper. One of my very best friends was just diagnosed last month with triple negative breast cancer. And she found it on her own. And she went into the doctor, and at first the doctor, because she has larger breasts, she has had large breast, like we've been friends since grade 3. She's always had larger breast, and it's something that she's been aware of. Her breast tissue just feels denser and a little bit lumpy and more granular. And so when she went in, the doctor was like, I actually can't believe you found this on your own. And she was diagnosed with stage 2. And she actually, what is today? Today's Friday. So she just had her 5th chemo treatment on Tuesday. Now, triple negative, this is what, she is told, is that this is a non-hormonal. That's not actually full truth. So it might not be non-hormonal in the sense of it's not connected to the BRCA1 and 2 gene. But if you do the research, and I have gone down a huge rabbit hole because I love her, triple negative breast cancer is actually very much connected to that beta glucuronidase pathway, our filtering ability, and what is going on in that gut level. So this is an elimination issue. So this isn't something that an untrained eye is going to look at basic test results and be able to see, well, your hormones are fine. Tell me more about how this person detoxes. How do they metabolize the hormones? That's where we're going to discover the information. So things like the sulforaphane, increasing the cruciferous, getting more fiber, all of that is going to be beneficial. But then we have to make sure that her gut, her digestive ability is strong enough to be able to manage that as well. Okay. Can I touch on my thoughts on bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, especially for women who've gone through surgical menopause? Listen, I am for bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. There are a lot of myths and non-truths around the connection of hormone replacement therapy and cancer. Now, if we're talking Premarin, if we're talking progestin, if we're talking prometrium, if we are talking, chemical-based, non-bioidentical, Not as much good research and information as when we talk about bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. So with bioidentical, they're going to be running your levels. In an ideal scenario, it's going to be through blood serum and it's going to be through urine, because if you have a woman on BHRT, it's not just about what her blood levels are. Again, how is she filtering it out? How does her body deal with the hormone once it's in there? And so I'm actually quite a fan of bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, and it's done through a compounding pharmacy. So Christine, you and I could both be on bioidentical hormones. It would never be the same amount. Doesn't matter if we're the same height, same weight. It's not done like that. It'd be based on our levels. So a compounding pharmacist is going to work with the levels and the amounts that you need to determine the best type for you. Now, the question of whether or not hormone replacement therapy is appropriate or safe for women who have a breast cancer risk or who have had breast cancer themselves before, this is where you want to work with a practitioner who specializes in oncology, a functional medicine practitioner who specializes in oncology and who has a strong scope of practice looking at bioidentical hormone impacts. Okay. So you want to interview your practitioner. So it's like when we have women reach out about this right now, I have a bioidentical hormone replacement therapy practitioner on the team, but oncology is not her area of specialty. So I have colleagues that I would refer that woman out to. If it's someone who is looking to support perimenopause and menopause, Megan on our team is the one who we're going to refer you to. She's an FMD and a nurse practitioner, and she does bioidentical hormones, but she doesn't have an oncology specialty. Interview your practitioners. Make sure they are a match. This is why we offer you a free call before you come into the Hormone Project. We want to make sure we're a match for you. I don't want women coming in who have something going on and then I'm like, oh God, we don't know how to support that. It's not good for her and it's not good for us. So you can get on a phone call with Christine from our team, talk about, this is what I have going on with my health. These are the symptoms. These are the struggles. What are some of the possibilities? Maybe it's not even the Hormone Project. Maybe you come into our women's wellness clinic that is launching in the middle of November, and you have an initial consultation with one of our functional medicine practitioners to talk about the things. Maybe we need to run a full blood panel first. So you have to know there's all different options, and do not be afraid to ask questions. I appreciate and respect when the questions come from women, okay? You need to know who you're working with, and you want to make sure that that is their zone of genius, all right? Okay, so foods for your breasts. This is a great question, and this is where we're going. So this is what I want you to think about. First of all, if you have a lot of bloating, gas, digestion, probably want to be looking at doing some digestive enzymes and working on supporting that before you just go and throw a whole bunch of new fiber at your body, okay? So cruciferous vegetables, these are things like your broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, arugula, radishes, Brussels sprouts, those kind of things, rich in naturally occurring DIM. Diindol methylene, and this is a key liver detoxifier. It also helps to eliminate some of the mutated estrogen metabolites that I was showing you in those pathways, particularly the 16 and the 4. If you have really low estradiol, you can be eating these foods that are rich in DIM, and we would give you sulforaphane instead, which is coming from those broccoli sprouts to protect. Broccoli sprouts are really inexpensive to grow on your own. Really inexpensive and super easy to be able to do. So for women who are dealing with excess estrogen, who are in recovery from breast cancer, adding in organic rich broccoli sprouts is going to be fantastic for lowering inflammation, decreasing the recurrence of breast cancer ever developing or returning, and it's going to help the body detox overall. So are things like chlorella, spirulina, chlorophyll. They're all blood toners. They're going to go in and to clean and cleanse the blood. Okay, phytoestrogens. I get asked about this all the time. We still need estrogen, ladies. Remember what I said? Estrogen is a healthy hormone. It's not, we don't need to be afraid of estrogen. It's the chemical estrogen from your products, from your commercial meats, from your alcohol, from your processed foods, from your plastics, from all of those environmental toxicants. That estrogen, we need to be like eyes up and open for that. Healthy estrogens and phytoestrogens like maca, ground flax, oranges, broccoli, carrots, avocados, beans, lentils, yams, sweet potatoes. Beautiful. Gimme, gimme, gimme. Bring it on in. This is part of why I love seed cycling. This is part of why I love it so much, is that in the first half of the month, we bring in ground flax and pumpkin. Incredible source of lignans, awesome phytoestrogen, amazing source of zinc and vitamin E, beautiful for your body. Second half, sesame and sunflower seeds. You know, you're getting in different types of lignans, things that are going to support what you need to be looking at hormone-wise in the latter half of the cycle. Beans and lentils. Listen, you could wake up and you could go tune into Dave Asprey, Cynthia Thurlow, Steph Estima, Carrie Jones, Mindy Pels, the Benzati. Those are going to be your big people on IG right now, and all of them can be telling you to eat something different. Dave's going to tell you kale's going to kill you. And Dr. Stephen Gundry is going to tell you the beans and the lentil lectins are going to rip holes in your gut and destroy you for life. Other people are going to tell you go and eat copious amounts of that. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Your body is not the same as someone else's. And this is why when you run functional gut testing, there are some women when we do their stool test where I'm like, we need you to eliminate this food and this food group for a period of time because we have to go in and seal and heal your gut. Then we'll reintroduce. Women who have excess estrogen, adding in some organic beans, rinsed really well, getting that in a couple times a week, incredible source of fiber to bind to that excess estrogen and help to move things through. Your antioxidants, ladies, where are you getting them from? If you are someone who's afraid of eating fruit right now, you need to be getting in organic berries rich in polyphenols. Polyphenols are a group of over 500 different phytochemicals that are a naturally occurring micronutrient in plants that go in and directly protect you against those free radicals. Also, apples, raw carrot and raw apple. Eat one raw apple and one raw carrot a day, and you are helping your gut health and you are helping your hormonal health. Dark chocolate, a square, not a family-sized bar. Cherries, dark cherries, throw frozen dark cherries into your smoothie, great source. Blueberries, turmeric, and curcumin. Start to use more of your herbs and spices, which are also an anti-inflammatory. Onions, garlic, green tea. I am a matcha girl. I just drank a matcha before we came in here. And I love it because it's rich in ECEG, catecholamines, it's got polyphenols, all of the nutrients that you are looking for. Now, supplement-wise, some of you are asking for breast health. So I'm going to go over some general supplements. Keep in mind, I don't know you. I do not know your health history. So I'm going to talk general. Magnesium, very important. For the average person, there's a lot of different types of magnesium. I would say on average, we are looking at things like magnesium bisglycinate to be the easiest digested. Some people, if they're very constipated, I might start them with a citrate, a powder in the beginning. But if you have to rely on a citrate powder in order to poop every day, we have a bigger issue that's going on, okay? So typically 400 to 800 milligrams of magnesium in a capsule form, the bisglycinate is going to be the route to go. If you've never taken magnesium, start with 400 milligrams, do that for a week or so, see how your system responds. The only side effect ever of magnesium is slightly looser bowel movements. And if they got too loose, then you would just back off about 152 milligrams at a time. Therapeutic dosing for your magnesium is about 5 times your body weight in milligrams. For those of you who have really not so fun ovulation and right before your period, and that's when your boobs are much larger, taking a good source of magnesium in the upper limit of 600 to 800. Sometimes I'll even go as high as 1,000 to 1,200 milligrams with some of my women, and evening primrose oil can make a big difference. The other supplements we talked about, DIM, that one, you are not going to go to the store and buy by yourself. Please don't do that. You can make things so much worse for yourself. Make sure you're working with someone who's running proper testing. And for DIM, you have to run a Dutch to actually understand what those pathways are. Otherwise, you could bottom out your estrogen and it'll take you quite some time to get that baby back. Sulforaphane and calcium D-glucarate, they're going to help with phase 1 liver detox and support setting up phase 2. The other thing that I really want you to think about with that as well is vitamin D. So the level or amount of vitamin D that you need comes down to a few things. Where do you live in the world? How much actual exposure are you getting to sunlight on as much bare skin as possible? And what are your levels? So getting tested, people are going to be taking typically anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000 international units a day, but it could be different. Your omega-3s, consuming them, like chewing them and getting them in, but also supplementing with those, turmeric and curcumin, which are anti-inflammatory. Those are going to be some of your baselines, as well as things like a good quality B complex. Now, I didn't talk about prebiotics, probiotics, postbiotics, any of those things. I didn't get into adaptogens because, again, I don't know you. And you could go and take a probiotic and feel so much better. And you could go and take a probiotic and that one isn't the right one for you and feel a lot worse. So again, understanding and testing instead of guessing, it's going to save you time, it's going to save you money, and it is actually going to help to get you feeling better probably a lot sooner. So, a quick recap on your breast health of the main things I want you to think about. You're going to start to nourish your body with a whole food diet. What does that actually mean? You're avoiding processed foods. You're avoiding fast food. You are avoiding vegetable oils. You are like canola and true vegetable oil, and your, crappy safflower oils and rapeseed oil. You're going to be decreasing the amount of sugar that you are getting in. And you're not afraid of sugar as a whole, but you're looking for natural sugar sources, not 4 pumps of pumpkin spice latte, okay, at your Starbucks. Not that kind of sugar, loaded with non-nutritive things that we just don't need in our body. You want to be getting in plenty of filtered water. Herbal teas, add those beautiful things in. Add in things like nettle, milk thistle, dandelion, dandy blend, green tea, matcha. Those are all very supportive for your body. Think about the supplements that we talked about. Test your hormones and do not guess. Get a comfortable, non-restrictive bra. Start to do things every day that are supporting your lymph drainage, your stimulation, and that releasing of and from the body. Carefully research any type of medication that you are taking and think about how that can impact your hormone levels. You may not realize that taking something like, an acid blocker for your stomach can be having an upward impact of your health above the waistline. Move your body via exercise. Really choose a path that builds in interval training. And ladies, it is not about how much cardio you do as a woman, especially as you age. How much are you lifting? Where's your load-bearing strength training? When you're getting out for your cardio, get out and go for moderate intensity steady state. Get out there and go for that beautiful long walk. Maybe you increase the intensity to maximum 3 times a week, but listen to your body. Are you doing breath work? Are you doing yoga, meditation, EFT, tapping? How about your sleep? And regularly be checking your breast. Make a commitment to that. Maybe you need to leave a note for yourself. Maybe you have to put a little Post-it on your lamp next to the bed. Maybe, for me, anytime I'm trying to anchor into a new habit, I use the Crayola markers for kids on my mirror in the bathroom. And I will write down the notes and the promises I want to keep to myself, like gua sha your breast tissue, do a castor oil pack, take your magnesium, those kind of things. Because, it's just, if you have things tucked away, you won't remember to use them, and then your body doesn't actually get to benefit from them. Okay. So just pull on up here. Okay. So I've delivered and talked about everything that I wanted to, that was on my heart in terms of why we can have issues, what we're looking for, self-testing, different tools we can use, our nutrition, our lifestyle, our supplements. So I have a few minutes here that I can open it up for some Q&A if you have additional questions. Yes, so your recording is going to come out next week. The podcast episode, it'll be probably a couple weeks before that comes out on the Simplicity sessions. How do you book a call with your wellness advisor? You can actually just send us a direct email and honestly reach out to me on Instagram. That is a great place to go. And then we can just connect with you right in there. So at Jen Pike. I've had a Dutch test done in the past, but I feel like my naturopath didn't take me through. I don't really understand what it means. You can reach out to us and actually book a session to do a fresh review. If you've had previous testing done with another practitioner, you can actually book a call with us to take you through and do that. What's the podcast called? The Simplicity Sessions. And you can get it on iTunes, Stitcher, and Apple. Can you share the replay link? Absolutely. It doesn't matter if they didn't sign up. You can share it with whomever you like, for sure. What is the gut test that you talked about? Okay, so there's a couple different stool tests. We use something called the GI map. And so you do this at home. So any of the tests that we have you do outside of blood, you have to go into a local blood lab, you take your requisition, you get your blood work done. The stool and the urinary test for your hormones, you do at your house. So we actually mail them to you. You poop in a cup for the science of your body, or you pee on the strips for your hormones, and we are measuring everything in your gut. I can actually show you what it looks like, what we see inside. I'm not going to show you poo. I can show you what the results would look like if you're curious and you want to see that. It is like It's mind-blowing how much knowledge and information our body has. Like, we always look outside of ourselves to try and understand what is going on. And the majority of the time, like if you're going to your doctor, you're not satisfied with the response because you have 7 minutes with them. 7 minutes to try to explain how you're feeling, what's going on, them ask questions, you ask questions, and get educated. It's not enough time. It is literally impossible. We spend, an hour to hour and a half with women in their first session, and sometimes it's not enough time. So it just depends what it is that's going on. Okay, so give me a yes or a no. Do you want to see what you can see inside of your stool? Because this is a big one. Especially if you are somebody, like I said, who's been told you have IBS. I know you're asking that. I actually I never run food sensitivity testing on people first. And here's the reason why, is that if you have a lot of food sensitivities, that is in response to your gut microbiome and your digestive ability not being able to manage something in the food. So if we go and just restrict a whole bunch of foods and say, like, here's your 12 foods you're safe to eat right now, and we're not addressing the root, which is the ecosystem of your gut. We're not looking at enzyme ability and hydrochloric acid, right? Like your stomach acid, gut infections, any of that. You're going to live a lifetime where you're going to think that you can't have those foods forever. I'd rather spend the time working on your gut, bring your digestibility up, and then start to pull those foods back in and retest. And if at the end of, quite honestly, if the end of like 4 to 6 months of working on that, because that's how long the beginning phase of healing is going to take. You cannot expect something to be different in a couple of weeks or a couple of months, especially like ladies, when we're talking about your hormonal health and your breast health, minimum 4 months. Your whole ovarian cycle, which is called folliculogenesis, is a minimum of 90 to 100 days. That's a whole season. That is 3 months, which means if today Danielle and Marilee and Sabine and Shireen and Charlotte and Christine were all to start something new for their ovarian and breast health today, we are not going to see the full impact of that for 3 months plus from today. And that would mean that you started today and you stay consistent. So what we do though is we just like pick a number on the calendar and we want to achieve the thing, and then we move towards it, and then it doesn't happen and we think we failed. Your body doesn't heal that way. Doesn't heal that way. Okay, so let me go in here. Give me a second. And let me just quickly pull up some poop. Welcome to my brain every single day. It's a lot of fun in here. Okay, I can show you the whole one of this actually, because this I use for training practitioners. So this is just a sample one. So I'm not breaking like any type of privacy policy doing this. So can you all see this? I'm going to zoom it in. You can just let me know in the chat, please. Okay, sweet. Here we go. So you poop in a container, and it comes with a little vial. So you actually have to catch your poop in the container, okay? And then once you do that, you have this little vial. It's kind of like the size of an essential oil bottle, and it has a solution in it. And you take the lid off, and there's like a tiny little scooper, like a tiny little spoon that's in there. And you have to take 4 different samples of your fecal matter, not just one section, 4 different sections. You put it back in the tube, you screw it on, you shake it up. You wrap it all up, all different things, instructions are in there. Come to your house, pick it up, or depending where you live, you take it to a certain place and it gets shipped off. When it comes back, we get to see all the different pathogens, bacteria, overgrowth, normal bacteria. We get to see if there is what's going on with the lining of your gut. Do we have leaky gut? Do we have gluten sensitivities? All of that. So this first page here, this is looking at bacterial pathogens. This looks at things like C. difficile, E. coli, salmonella, all different things. I cannot tell you how many women we work with who have C. difficile and E. coli and have no idea. And they think they just have, like a overactive digestive system is what they say as to why they're having looser bowel movements or going more often, or their gas smells a certain way, or no matter what they eat, everything irritates them. So C. diff, Clostridia, is also connected to the brain and serotonin. So if you've ever heard like gut inflammation contributes to brain inflammation, if your gut's on fire, your brain is on fire. So for the person who has brain fog, who can't focus, who doesn't have the ability to stay like engaged, all of that that's happening neurologically, we always want to test the gut because the gut and the brain share the same blood barrier, the same axis. They are interconnected. What impacts one is going to impact the other. And if we have certain pathogens like this that are sitting elevated, it is going to lower your body's ability to produce neurotransmitters like serotonin, which is your free anti-anxiety hormone. Very important to know. Okay, so we can see here this woman has an elevated level of C. difficile, and she has a borderline elevated level of Neisseria. Now, again, a trained eye, you can't just look at this and go, oh, red is for like, this is a big deal, stop and pay attention. Yellow is for like caution, but keep going. And green is like totally fine. That is not a trained eye. A trained eye has to look deeper to this. And then what you have to do is you have to go back to the client and ask, okay, those symptoms you were talking about, I need you to actually tell me more. And that more could be things like, how many times are you wiping? Is there mucus when you're also having a bowel movement? Tell me more when you're saying foods just don't agree with you. What does that actually mean? When did this start? Oh, this started when you were on holidays. Oh, this started, when you were taking care of so-and-so. Oh, this started when you had a massive level of stress. Oh, you were put on a medication for that. And tell me more. You moved to a new house. You're drinking from well water now. Okay, tell me more. These are the kind of things you have to go deeper on. This upper part here, we look at parasitic pathogens. So there's different types of parasites. These three, Cryptosporidium, Entamoeba histolytica, and Giardia, they're more pervasive and they're stealth. So they can hang out behind the scenes for a long time. Very common to get it swimming in lakes. When you travel, so when people talk about having traveler's diarrhea, Montezuma's revenge, uncooked meats, cross-contaminated food, those kind of things. Very easy to get these. The other thing I'm going to tell you with gut infections and bacteria, if you share a bed with someone, you share more than just a bed. A lot of these are, there's particles in your bed. When you're intimate with someone, there are different fluids that are transferred. Things like H. pylori move through our saliva as well. You're almost never going to know exactly where something came from. It doesn't even matter sometimes. It's like, okay, we see it, now we've got to deal with it. Different viral pathogens, adenovirus and norovirus in the body. When you see this under DL, this means under detectable limit. This is H. pylori. I would say out of every 10 women that we work with, 9 out of 10 have H. pylori. It is very common. Most people don't know they have H. pylori. They just think they belch a lot. They have reflux, they have indigestion, and they have a lot of gas and bloating. Now, you'll see these things here called virulence factors. Well, someone could have, like my last test, I had a low-grade level of H. pylori. How can that happen? Lots of different ways. What's one of the main ways we see it in women? Chronic stress. Why? Because chronic stress lowers your stomach acid and can impair the lining of the gut, your secretory IgA, and make you more vulnerable to gut infections, okay? If you have virulence factors, this makes it more significant. So the person who has H. pylori with some of these virulence factors may have the joint pain, may have more aches and pains throughout. Their symptoms might be stronger. They may also have an autoimmune condition that they're either aware of or perhaps not aware of. Happens all the time with women and their thyroid. Okay. And so these help to give us indication as what kind of treatment is going to be needed. If you go to your family doctor and they go and look to see if you have H. pylori, they're going to recommend typically a cocktail of antibiotics for a minimum of 2 weeks. Usually you get 2 rounds of it to try to knock the bacteria out. The problem is if we take that approach and we don't do anything else or try something else first, is not only are you wiping out the bad bacteria, but you're taking out any of your healthy bacteria that is your army known as your immune system. So in our practice, we don't go antibiotic route first. We use other things. We go in and we support the lining of the gut. We support stomach acid. We go in with antimicrobials. There are certain protocols you have to do depending on what shows up. Typically with H. pylori, you're anywhere from 4 to 6 in the upwards of 12 weeks trying to work on that. Okay. Now, this here, it says commensal. This actually, what this is your normal bacteria flora. So we want to keep things within that, like, Goldilocks and the Three Bears, not too little, not too much, somewhere in between. Most of this woman's bacteria is doing pretty well, except for Akkermansia is rock bottom low. Like it is actually under the detectable limit here. Why does that matter? Akkermansia is a certain bacteria in your gut that is helpful in breaking down starches. Okay, so anything flour based, carbohydrate based, sugar based, Akkermansia is also one of your most important gut bacteria that should be fairly robust to not only help your metabolic function, your brain function, your immune function, but also the way that our body manages insulin, glucose, and interacts with other bacterias. Okay. So when we have a woman who has very low Akkermansia, this is going to impact the probiotic that we put her on. I'm not going to go put this woman on, an intensive with like 50 or 80 billion CFUs. I'm going to go put her on something very specific that's going to help her with her Akkermansia and her low Roseveria. Okay, so again, back in the day, like I would just recommend the HMF Forte for everyone. It's such a great probiotic. I don't do that anymore. And why don't I do that anymore? Because I'm a student of life. And the more testing I do, and I'm going to tell you something, women's guts that I was testing in 2020 are not the same guts right now in 2022. There's been a lot of stress in our lives. There's been a lot of shifts and change in our health in these last couple of years, and our bodies are really showing it. So we need a different approach. Okay. Then you have your phylomicrobiota. So this is like looking at the comparison of your Bacteroides and Firmicutes. Women who have a higher amount of the Firmicutes to the Bacteroides, they're going to hold on to more body weight. Their body's going to extract more calorie density, more caloric density from food than someone who has a healthier balance. Your gut bacteria is massive in your whole health. Okay. This is overgrowth. So this one here has some overgrowth that needs to be addressed. So when we see certain things like staph, this can impact skin, staph, strep, skin, oral. So it could be like lots of cavities, could be acne, could be eczema, psoriasis. Again, any of these could be contributed to bowel irregularities. And then we have different overgrowth for people who wonder if they have SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. We may see a high level of off-gassing here. There are inflammatory and autoimmune markers that we would be looking at, especially for the people who are very juicy. So they're just like chronically congested, lots of different things going on. We want to look at measures and markers here. Then we look at things like candida, fungus, and different yeast. This will show up often for women, not just in yeast infections. Could show up on your scalp, excess earwax, could show up in your nail bed health, athlete's foot. There's more viruses that we look at. Oftentimes we'll see Epstein-Barr virus elevated in women who have had mono in the past. And then we've got certain parasites. Okay, so when we have parasites in the body, we don't necessarily just go and do a parasite cleanse. We have to work on what? Your drainage first, your lymph, and your detox pathways. If you don't poop, there is no way I am having you do a parasite cleanse, because how are you getting it out? How are you getting it out? We've got to work on your lymph and your drainage and your detox first. We've got to get the phase 1 and phase 2 strong, and then the body's going to be able to eliminate. We test for worms. These here, see this one down here, the GI marker for beta glucuronidase. This woman's 2584. This is very high. She is going to have a lot of estrogen dominant like symptoms, headaches, migraines, weight gain, breast tenderness, heavy painful periods. And if she doesn't have a period anymore now, when she did have her period, most likely it wasn't her favorite time of the month. Steatocrit will tell us if she digests and absorbs her fat. Okay, this is a big one for me, and I work with women who've done keto for a long time. And then they're telling me that they've hit a plateau, they have brain fog, they're sluggish, they don't have energy, they're not feeling great, they feel like something's off. Sure enough, this will typically be really high, which means that they are not absorbing a lot of the fat that they are eating. Elastase tells us more about your digestion. It's a pancreatic enzyme coming from the pancreas and supports your hydrochloric acid. If there's any blood in the stool, and then this down here, this is your secretory IgA. So this is your immune response. If you have a low Sig-A, like this woman's, I like to see it between 1,000 to 1,500. Hers is 552. This means that she actually is going to have a less strong immune system. She's more prone to infection. Her recovery is not going to be great. And it means the lining, the mucus barrier of her gut has lost a lot of its integrity. She is more vulnerable to any bacteria. And the reality is, with Sege low like that, if there's a big stressor that kind of comes out of nowhere in her life, she doesn't really have the stamina to be able to manage that. Now, there's an additional marker that you can add on, which is zonulin. This woman actually has 100% leaky gut because of this is elevated here. Zonulin is the additional gut marker that we can test for leaky gut. She also has a pretty high significant sensitivity to gluten, anti-gliadin. I like to see this non-existent or below 40. Hers is 157. Okay. And then, and calprotectin. She's got some significant inflammation. Now, the lab will say anything under 173 is normal. But suboptimally, we would want to see this to actually be as close to 0 as possible. Okay. So, and then remember how I said with H. pylori, they'll recommend antibiotics. So they test your genetic strains against certain antibiotics. Could you manage that if that's what they were going to recommend to you? So that's all done via your poop for that. And so again, that is, that's the newest one. They changed it like within the last 8 weeks, and Dutch has their newest one. And they changed that July 1st is when those new ones. It's the GI map test. So there's different stool tests. Here's what I'm going to say. Regardless of what practitioner you work with, don't go to your doctor for a stool test. They are not, it's not a full gamut. You've got to go and work with a functional medicine practitioner, a naturopath, a functional diagnostic nutritionist, somebody like that. Doctor's data, Gut Zoomer and GI 365, is that what that one's called? GI Map. They're your most common ones for it. But this is like, here's what I say. If you have the ability to test all three, your blood, your urine, and your stool, do it. If you have to decide which you're going to start with, what area do you have the most symptoms? So if you're like, everything is in my hormones, everything is in my breasts, that's why I'm here today. Well, then let's do a full blood panel and look at what's going on with your Dutch. And then based on things that you say in your consult and what we see there, then maybe we talk about testing your stool. If everything in your life with your health started for you in your gut, you start with testing there. There is nothing that if we trace it back is not connected to your gut. Absolutely nothing. So we have spent a lot of time together this morning, over 2 hours. And I'm grateful that you have stayed here with me for this time, but we are going to head off into the rest of the day. So I hope that you learned a lot. I hope that this got you curious about some different things that you can start to add into your health and to your lifestyle. And we'll send this out to you next week. If you are interested in connecting with us and working with my team and I in the Hormone Project, you want to come back to school for your health as the body of the woman that you are, reach out to us, DM me directly on Instagram or send us a message, hello@jenpike.com. And I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Take care, everyone.